Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to show you a cool text effect that I'll be creating. So let's get started. Create a new page. So file, new, and for this I'll be using somewhere around 700 pixels in width. Let's say around 400 pixels in height. That'll be okay. And what we first need to do is I'll be adding a nice glow effect on the background, which will look like a shadow, but something kind of inner. So first thing, let's create a new layer and make sure your background is set to white. Let's select the brush tool, and in your brush options here, make sure you have the hardness set to 0, and we need a big brush. Somewhere around 176 would be fine. And let's change the color, the foreground color, to something like a light gray. You can use this. And once you've done that, let's just brush in on the corners here. So I'm just going to brush in here on the corners and on this corner here, somewhere like this. Let's do a bit in the sides too. Okay, once you've done that, make sure again you're on the layer, and let's go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and you can see that the effect comes really nicely in. What it looks like now is it's just completely filled the whole background here, so don't really matter for that now. So once you're done, somewhere around 90 pixels. Once you've done that, let's make this masked. So with this layer selected, click on the mask layer, and once you've done that, go back to your gradient tool and select radial gradient. Make sure you have black and white set. Just click and drag from in. Let's do that one more time. Once you do that, you can see that you have a nice effect here, and you can anytime come and make your changes to your mask layer, so it's not like rubbing it off. Okay, once you've done that, let's add the text. I'm going to zoom in once here, zoom in a bit back. Alright, and for the text I'm going to use some nice thick font which I have. You can use something like, let's use a font which is common in all PCs. So I'll use Impact for this, and let's click and type in Photoshop. Now to apply this, you could whether press Ctrl Enter which to apply, or you could just click the stick mark. So I'm going to use the shortcut Ctrl Enter. Once it's applied, using the move tool, let's center this in between. So just press Ctrl A to select the whole document here, and using these align panels, we'll align that in center. Let's deselect that again, Ctrl D. Once you've done that, you could see the text is having a little bit broken edges in the corner, just because you're zoomed in. Let's zoom back 100% so you don't think it's really not neat there. Okay, once you've done that, let's add some text effects for this. Open up the blending options, layer style. You could do that by double clicking on this area here. Don't double click exactly near the name, you would rename the text if you do that. And if you double click on the icon here, you would open up the editing tool for the text. Once you're done, let's make sure you have your arrow on this side, or you could simply come to the effects at this point and click on blending options, get the layer styles open up. Okay, now let's move this. Okay, let's move this somewhere side down here. Okay, now first thing we'll do is we'll add a shadow, and we don't really need a hard shadow, so leave the blend mode to multiply, let it be black, and keep your opacity to somewhere around 20%, and make the distance to around somewhere like, we don't really need a big shadow as I said. Keep it somewhere around 2, and we don't need any spread, so keep it 0%. Let's set the size to something like 3 would be fine, and give the quality to default. Now we'll set inner glow, so make sure you have your inner glow selected, and let's keep the blend mode to normal. Again, the opacity will go way down, just need a little bit of an inner glow, somewhere around 10% would be fine. Make sure your distance and size set to 3 pixels. That's it, we won't be touching quality here again. And let's add a bevel and an emboss, make that selected. That'll be an inner bevel, and we'll add a really less depth here, let's say around 8%, size somewhere around, let's actually reduce the whole thing here. Keep it 1. If you keep it completely 0, you see that it's completely sharp. Let's zoom in here by pressing Ctrl+, or you can just press Ctrl and just click in here. You can see that if you increase this, we get a completely soft kind of effect. So let's make this completely way 0. I'm going to zoom back to 100%. Once you've done that, let's change the gloss contour to something like this effect, which makes it look like a glossy type effect, and we'll change the white color there to somewhere around a bit light gray, and we don't really need a black top, so let's make this again a dark something like this is fine. Okay, once you've done that, let's make sure you have your contour ticked. You don't really need to make any changes here, make sure it's ticked. And what else we need to do, let's see, we'll add an outer glow here, and make sure your blend mode is set to normal. We don't want screen since there's no fancy background in the back which would blend in, and your color is not really yellow, so we take something around a light gray, let's say somewhere around there, and your opacity, reduce it somewhere around 50% would be fine. Increase your spread a bit, let's say around 10, and again make sure your quality is set to this one right here in the left bottom corner. And what we need to do now is to add a shine on top of the text. So once we're done with the text effects, let's press on OK. You could even save those text effects. Well, let's go back in here, and you could just press in the new style and say my text effect, and make sure you have blending options ticked. Once you do that, let's press on OK again.